Hi, everyone, and welcome to podcast number 4. We're speeding through these now from the University of Cumbria and the Assistant Practitioner Programme. We're just going to quickly introduce ourselves. I'm Sally Richardson. I'm the Programme Leader. I'm a nurse and I have a degree in nurse education, health service management, masters, and also a master's in dementia care.
Hi, I'm Fiona. I am a lecturer on the Assistant Practitioner Programme with a degree in Health and Social Care. I am an assistant practitioner by background and I've been with the university for about 2 years now.
Hi, my name's Natalie Villanueva. I'm also a lecturer on the programme. I'm a radiographer by background and don't quite have as many degrees as Ali does, but I did my radiography degree about 6 years ago and I've always had an interest in teaching, so here I am.
So, in this week's podcast, we're going to be thinking about those who need extra support to learn when they're with us at the university because of additional learning needs. So, things like mental health needs, like anxiety that affect their learning, but also dyslexia and dyscalculia, and also autism and ADHD. At the university on our programme, there are about 44% of the apprentices that have an additional learning need and they require extra support from the university. So this week, we are really excited to introduce Sally, who has been invited to talk to us today about additional learning needs and the support available to the students at the university.
My name is Sally Dyer, and I'm one of the specialist learning advisors attached to the disability team. Yeah,
So I think we've got a few questions.
you have, yes.
And I wondered if I will ask the first one. So if I'm a student, Sally,
Yes.
how do I know if I've got additional learning needs and I need help from the team?
We know at different points in life. So sometimes students may have experienced difficulties earlier in their education at school or college. They may have a diagnosis of dyslexia or dyspraxia or ADHD, or they may not have a diagnosis. So they might have, experienced difficulties at school. They might have family members who have similar sort of difficulties. The second way that students might think they've got some sort of learning difference is when they start university and they find that they start to struggle a little bit. Tutors may notice that, sentence structure is not what they might expect, or a classic difficulty is that when students are expected to write an assignment, the points they want to make are not in a logical order, jumbled up points, jumbled up paragraphs. So people might notice at that stage that they might suspect that they have a learning need. The other thing is that up until the point they get to university, people often have quite good coping strategies, effective strategies that have worked thus far, but they get to university and everything is picked up at a pace. They've got more to do, more research articles to read. They've got deadline after deadline and it's too much. And the coping strategies they had in place previously no longer work. So at that point, they might think, I wonder if I need to go and sort this out.
Yeah, Sally, that's something we really notice with our students on the programme.
We often find that students will kind of power through the first year of university. They really push themselves and they find that they're putting in far more time and effort than other people do for the same result. So it's those sorts of issues and difficulties that may make students think, I wonder if I have some sort of learning need that I need to go and investigate.
Thanks, Sally. That is something we pick up quite a lot with our students as well. They do start to struggle as they get on closer to the second year and the work starts getting a little bit harder. So I suppose my second question is, how does that student access support when they recognise that there is a need for it?
To follow on from the first question about how do I know if I have additional learning needs? The next point would be, well, what do I do about it? So students would then need to somehow get in touch with the disability team. Sometimes tutors will suggest to them that they get in touch with the disability team.
Yeah, Sally, that's something we pick up quite often with our students that we are personal tutor for. So we do TPRs once every 3 months. And the first one's quite quick after they begin on programme. So we go through if there's any struggles, anything that they're worried about, and it's picked up quite often at these meetings.
It's also picked up as we go through the program, isn't it? So when we do that first reflection, we can see sometimes that people have got an issue with their sentence structure or the way that they're wording things, or sometimes their organisation skills as well are quite evident when we see those first lot of assessments.
Yeah, definitely, I agree.
So it's the other ways that they would access the service is by completing what's called a support request form, which asks for basic information about their learning needs, about their experiences, about any medical needs, any physical needs that they might have, what kind of support have they had in the past, those sorts of questions. So that gives the disability team basic information about the student, and it's a first step. So then the disability officers will sort of look through those forms. If the form mainly contains medical or physical issues, then the disability officer will write a support plan and share it with the student and with academic staff. If the student has ticked a box that says, I think I might have a specific learning difference, or autism or ADHD, then the student will be invited to what's called a screening meeting. And we will then discuss with the student at length about their educational experiences. What do they find difficult in learning? What do they feel are the barriers to their learning? What can we do that would make a difference? We will also decide at that point what sort of support that student may need.
Thanks, Sally. Can you tell me about what funding there is for support for apprentices at the university, as a lot of our students are apprentices?
So then the university will fund study skills directly. We offer them up to 30 hours of specialist study skills support.
30 hours can seem a very long time, and I think for many students they think I will only use it here and there, and they don't book it. Some of our most successful students are very systematic about booking the time. They look at their assessment calendar and book time in with the team before assessments so that they're prepared for their assessments and they've done what they need to do. And I think with the team being fairly small, it's miles easier if people book in advance. The team can book up to, well, at the moment, they're booking up into next year. So there's plenty of time for you to have a look at your calendar if you're a student on the programme and to go, actually, I'm going to book some time in now. Over to you, Natalie.
So I just wanted to ask, how does the action plan improve studies? So what sort of things in the action plan can help the student?
I think there are 3 aspects to that. The first is that it's a guide for academic staff to look at reasonable adjustments for that particular student. The second key area in which it can help improve studies is by provision of specialist study skills. And the third way in which the support plan can help to improve studies is by equipping students with the skills to promote independent learning. The support plan acts as a kind of template which will sort of initiate dialogue between academic staff and the student. In the support plan, there might be statements that say things like, this student should be allowed to get up and walk around the room, perhaps, if they have ADHD. This student might benefit from a 5-minute rest break. Or it might be, can the student be allowed to record the lecture?
Which they have. They can also get extra time, up to 25% in exams and assessments. They can have breaks in assessments. And they also can have individual support from the study skills team.
It's all about, starting that dialogue between staff and students. The second aspect that I was mentioning is about, I'd say the key function of a support plan really is to alert the student and staff about the allowance of specialist study skills sessions. And we have some statistics that show that those students who access study skills support, they do get better grades.
That is such an interesting point. Thank you, Sally, because what we find with our students is that they really do pick things up academically if they're having all the support alongside. When they don't access the support, we can see a definite difference. Do you guys have any students you could think about who meet those kind of criteria?
Yeah, I've got one in particular that comes to mind. This student is currently coming towards the end of her first year. And when she first started, after the first assessment, I got a phone call with her in tears, really distressed. And it became apparent that her anxiety was really impacting her ability to complete assessments, really. So we discussed it at some length about what we can do to support her, and I suggested that she might need to contact Sally's team just to see if there's anything that they could suggest as well. And she was given an action plan, and she's really worked with the disabilities team to improve her learning technique, her revision techniques. She engages with them on a regular basis, and it's really shown in her assessment grade. She's really flourishing. She's so much more confident, and as a personal tutor, it's a real joy to see.
And I think that's something really important, Natalie, that students don't always pick up on, because often they think that the study skills team are there to help them with actual assessments rather than organising their work, getting plans in place, making sure that they're doing things in a timely manner. It's more than just let's read through a load of words, or how do you approach reading? How do you approach your studies? How do you balance work and life? How are you managing with things? And how are you coping with the stress of what you're doing? How do we make that easier for you is part of it as well, and part of the support.
Yeah, I think with study skills, it's not about giving somebody the answers to an assessment, is it? It's about giving them strategies to be able to work more effectively and use the time better. And I think that definitely shows in the students that do use all the study time.
You can see, can't you, in some students who don't engage as well, that when they do engage, their grades and their structure and how they write are completely different to those times when they don't engage. So it's quite easy to pull up on the lack of interaction with the study skills team if they're not using the allocated time.
We had a student, Fiona and I, who in the first year had real problems and failed almost everything. When she started to engage with the study skills team at the end of first year, was top of her group in terms of her assignment and her writing. Then in the second year, she stopped accessing them again and fell back to the bottom and started failing again. So it was clear that when she was taking up the help, she was quite capable of passing the program. But when she didn't take up the help, she was failing everything.
But what the specialist study skills sessions do, they make that support bespoke, they make it individualized, because what we find is that people who've got SpLD, they're unique, and they've got, unique needs and different ways of accessing learning.
I think it helps as well, doesn't it, that we have that ability to really work with Sally's team and make a unique plan for that person in a way that works for us in our online environment as well as for that person. And a lot of the things that we do online are beneficial for them, aren't they? Such as those recordings and having access to things in advance.
Yeah, it's good to be able to review things, especially if, attention does wander in the day. We're doing full teaching sessions sometimes, and, some of the sessions we might teach might be a little bit dry, unfortunately, at times. So it is really good that they can go back and revisit things, revise things, and have those recordings to hand if, attention has wandered a little bit.
I just wanted to mention about independent learning, because that's a key plank of what we do, giving the students strategies to promote independent learning.
But having said that, they also have access to more work in their reading lists, and they have access to a whole wealth of stuff in the library. And I think some of the work that the study skills team does with people is getting people more confident in accessing the literature and the range of tools that we have and the resources we have.
Yeah, that is important, isn't it? So, Sally, I've just got one more question for you. So, when you were saying earlier about, sometimes tutors might send the students to yourself for a referral, and that is something I have done previously with students, but I've found that sometimes students can be a little bit reluctant to have a referral done or to have an assessment done. And I just wanted to ask you a little bit about that. Do you know why that might be?
I have found there are lots of reasons why students may be reluctant to have a support plan. And mainly it's lack of understanding about the difficulties that they face. They think that they don't need it. And the other thing is not understanding the benefits that having specialist support can give them. So students quite often say to me that they don't want to declare any difficulty because it might go against them in employment. So I think it's all about raising awareness, about educating students of the benefits of study skills and having a support plan in place. It can, lessen their anxiety, lessen the stress. They know that they're being supported rather than struggling on alone.
I guess the takeaway from today is really that no one needs to struggle on their own, and that telling people about what's difficult about academic work is really, really important, because it's not just about identifying that there's a need, it's also about accessing a range of help. Sally's team do have a range of help. We also do academic skills sessions for students who have one or more academic fail, who just want to come along, or who have an additional learning need, and it's open to all students once a month. We also do personal tutoring and tutorials where people have failed things, and we're really keen that they also use the resources on the Student Hub, which are plentiful and can be a little overwhelming. So if anyone wants help navigating those, we're happy to give it. And the study skills team also run webinars from time to time, which some of our students have found really, really helpful. So there is help out there. It's not a lonely place. And once you start accessing the support, what we really want to say is you will improve academically.
Thank you for listening to our podcast today, and a big thank you to Sally for joining us. So join us next time where we will be showcasing some more of our students' work. We've just had another batch of Out of This World podcasts from our January 24 cohort, and there's some of our health and social care students in there as well, so we'd love to share that with you. Thank you.